When is the last time Erika made a recent reads video? I don't know. The first book I'm going to talk about today is Meg Night Stalkers by Steve Alten. This is the 5th book in the Meg series. Yeah, there's 5 books. 5! And there's going to be one more. 6. That's a lot of books, but I can't get enough of them. Just when you thought Steve Alten couldn't get more ridiculous with this series, man, he proves you wrong. As if these sharks aren't big enough as it is, I like to think that Steve Alten just figured, what can I do to entertain people even more? Well, let's just get some more prehistoric creatures that are bigger and scarier, that are miraculously somehow not extinct as well, and just throw them in the mix. What could go wrong? Nothing. Nothing could possibly go wrong with that. No. Bad writing? Check. Horrible characters? Check. Laughable science? Check. Completely entertaining, wonderful, and oh my gosh, I love it so much, and I just want all of the books to never stop and just forever just keep releasing these books. Check. I really like this book. It's ridiculous. It's very ridiculous, but it's so great. It's so great. The only problem I had when finishing this book is that there is not another one out yet for me to read, and I just want another book, Steve Alten. Just give me another damn fucking Meg book, okay? Also, a lot of people on BookTube have been reading Meg recently, and that's made me so happy. Jess read it, Amy read it, Ben read it, and everyone should read Meg. If you haven't read this, go read it, and we can be best friends. Anyway, not much more to say about Meg Night Stalkers because I don't want to spoil you. That would be terrible, but highly entertaining, ridiculous, laughable, but I just can't get enough. After that, I read The Moon is Down by John Steinbeck. The Moon is Down, on a surface level, is a story about a small town that is invaded and conquered by an army. This book really shows the darkness of war, the strength of freedom, and it also makes you sympathize not only with the townspeople, but the invaders as well. And before I talk more about that, because I really want to talk about that, there are some facts that I want to share with you about this book. In 1941, Steinbeck was working with a precursor of the CIA, I believe, the OSS, which was the Office of Strategic Services, and he was working with them to write a propaganda designed to encourage the resistance movement at that time. And despite efforts to suppress this book, thousands of copies of this were translated and circulated throughout the war. The mere possession of this book at that time in some countries could get you shot. And in knowing all of that, something Steinbeck does in this novel is that he really throws at you that in war there are only victims. You really feel for the people of this town who are being forced to work in coal mines, and you also somewhat sympathize for the invaders. They're portrayed as people that you can almost relate to in a sense. You know, they're people that don't want to be doing what they're doing, but it's their job, they're being forced, and they would much rather be at home with their families. And that's something that I've never really read from in a war novel. For Steinbeck to really get you to see both sides of the spectrum was really interesting. I'm not really sure how I feel about that because although it's never said outright in this novel, you know that the invaders in this book are the Nazis. I read this book alongside my best friend Alyssa, the dork that you see on this channel all the time, and I remember telling her that this book really reminded me of Fog in a way. Fog slowly creeps in and then it just engulfs you, and that's what this book did. It was very subtle, and then things just got very drastic very fast. And there's this quote that I really like that I want to share with you. "There is no law between you and us. This is war. Don't you know you will have to kill all of us, or we in time will kill all of you? You destroyed the law when you came in, and a new law took its place." There's also a lot of other quotes in here that I really like, but I just wanted to share that one with you. This book is extremely different from any Steinbeck that I've ever read before. It really stays with you, and I couldn't recommend it enough. It's very different from East of Eden, Grapes of Wrath, Of Mice and Men. It's very, very different, but again, I could not recommend it enough. After that wonderful book, I read a terrible book, and that was Doon by Carey, Corp, and Lorie Langdon. This book doesn't even deserve a review. It's that bad. I've honestly never read anything this bad before. I thought I've read some pretty crappy things, but but this one takes the cake. If you thought Twilight was bad, no. Give me Twilight any day over this, please. This is the book that brings shame to the YA spectrum. I've read some really great young adult books, but this just should not exist. I would give anything to go back in time and stop myself from reading this. I would have stopped reading this book, but I'm the person that, you know, has to finish reading the book no matter what. If you like this book, I'm sorry I'm completely trashing it, but I don't see how anyone could. There's nothing in here. Nothing. I bought this book because a specific booktuber used to talk about it all the time and talk about how much they loved it, and you know, I trusted them and I bought the book. I'm never taking their recommendation ever again for anything. In case you were curious about this disaster, this book takes place in Scotland. Some magic is thrown in. There's some really annoying characters that make me want to punch a wall. A laughable, predictable plot. Insta love at its finest. If you're a fan of characters just falling in love like that, you'll love this. I honestly don't want to talk about this book anymore, so in case you were wondering, I really recommend you to avoid this book at all costs. If you see this book, just run away. Just run away. After that, I read Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov. No, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Sorry. Beautifully disturbing. That's how I would describe this book. I feel as if most people know what Lolita is about, but if you don't, it's about a middle-aged man who becomes obsessed and involved with a 12-year-old girl. This book was extremely dense, but beautifully written. And this book is good. It's great even. And I think it's a very important read, but I honestly cannot see myself ever rereading this book, or at least I don't want to in any time in the near future. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Just hold on. This book really messed with me, and I found myself constantly having to put this book down to take breaks. Our main character in this book, Humbert, is a highly unreliable character, and that's why I put the book down so many times, because I had to remind myself that this character is so unreliable. It's as if Humbert is trying to manipulate you. He's trying to gain sympathy from you, and this book got me to feel that way a couple of times, and every time that happened, I had to set this book down and remind myself that Humbert is unreliable, he's clearly crazy, he doesn't deserve my sympathy, and for all I know, he's bullshitting and lying. You don't really know. And I felt myself getting frustrated when I was reading this because I didn't want to sympathize with him, but the way it was written, it made you start to feel that way, and I didn't like feeling that way. And it's great because it got a lot of emotions out of me, but even after reading this, I still don't know how I feel about this book completely. It's a good book, and I think you should definitely read it. It's just, I don't know. I don't know. The last book that I'm going to talk about is Sacrebleu by Christopher Moore. Yes, another Christopher Moore book. There's a reason why I love Christopher Moore. He takes the absurd and somehow makes it plausible in a funny way. And not even funny, hilarious. He makes it hilarious. I want to be as funny as Christopher Moore. I'm not, but I wish I was. In a nutshell, this book takes Vincent van Gogh's death and gives it a supernatural twist of sorts. To be honest, I don't know much about art. I know the bare minimum. I'm familiar with a lot of famous works and know a bit about them, but that's where the knowledge of art for me comes to an end. I know nothing more. This book was extremely entertaining, funny, and just a great time, but damn it, while reading this book, I felt so ignorant when it came to art. I don't know enough, and I really want to know more. I would really appreciate some recommendations of that sort in the comments below. If you have any, please and thank you. But anyway, back to the book. Not Christopher Moore's best work by any means, but still very entertaining. And if you're looking for a fun book that takes art and makes it magical, this is for you. And those are all the books that I will be talking about today. If you have any thoughts or opinions, leave them in the comments below. We could chit chat, all that good stuff. And that's all I have to say for today. I will see you in another video. Bye.